Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're grabbing a front row seat to Dr. Chem's absolutely cinematic breakdown of advanced yield and stoichiometry. If chemical math usually makes your head spin, get ready for a totally new perspective. We're going to demystify these complex, multi-reactant problems step by step. Let's get started. All right, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the chemistry recipe, move into finding limiting reactants, compare theoretical versus actual yield, calculate our percent yield, and finally, wrap it all up by solving some really advanced problems. Let's dive right in. First up, the chemistry recipe, or as I like to think of it, lowering the cognitive barrier. So, stoichiometry. Yeah, the word itself sounds incredibly intimidating. But honestly, it's just the mathematical relationship between your reactants and your products. Think of it as a highly precise way of figuring out exactly how much product you're going to make from your starting ingredients, all based on these totally non-negotiable chemical ratios. Basically, if you can follow a recipe to bake a cake, you can absolutely do stoichiometry. Moving on to part 2, finding limiting reactants, basically what runs out first. To figure out how much product we can actually create, we first need to pinpoint our limiting reactant. The classic sandwich analogy really hits the nail on the head here. Imagine you've got 3 slices of toast, 2 slices of turkey, and 4 strips of bacon. How many full sandwiches can you actually put together? Just 1. Why? Because your turkey runs out first. That makes the turkey your limiting reactant. It literally restricts your total production, even though you've got leftover bread and bacon just sitting there on the counter. So the real trick is taking this exact same sandwich logic and applying it to atoms and molecules in a chemical equation. How exactly do we scale that up? Well, instead of turkey and bacon, we look directly at the balanced chemical equation. Take the stoichiometric mole ratios for nitrogen and hydrogen forming ammonia. You need exactly 1 mole of nitrogen gas reacting with 3 moles of hydrogen gas just to yield 2 moles of ammonia. So to find our limiting reactant in the real world of the lab, we just convert our starting mass into moles and see which molecular ingredient runs out first, based entirely on those strict proportional ratios. Which brings us to section 3, theoretical versus actual yield, or simply put, the perfect lab versus messy reality. This is truly a tale of 2 totally different realities. Theoretical yield is the absolute maximum amount of product that stoichiometry tells us should form in a perfect world, a world where every single molecule reacts flawlessly. Actual yield, on the other hand, is what we, as somewhat clumsy humans, actually manage to produce, capture, and measure when we run the reaction in a real-world laboratory setting. All right, let's look at section 4, calculating percent yield, basically grading your own efficiency. To figure out just how successful a chemical reaction was, chemists calculate the percent yield to give themselves a grade. The formula is beautifully simple. You just take your real-world actual yield, divide it by your mathematical theoretical yield, and multiply the whole thing by 100. It's exactly like grading a test, where your theoretical yield is that flawless 100% score. So why don't we just ace it and get a perfect score every time? Well, you almost never hit 100% because of real-world physics. The reaction might be incomplete. Maybe it hits equilibrium before it's actually finished. You could have unwanted side reactions, impure reactants, or just classic human errors like spilling a drop or leaving some product clinging to the beaker. Interestingly enough, though, if your yield actually goes over 100%, it usually means your final sample has some unreacted impurities hiding in it, or, let's be honest, you probably just weighed it while it was still wet with solvent. There's a great quote that sums this up. Studying how much of a compound is produced in any given reaction is an important part of cost control. And it's so true. This math is absolutely vital in industries like pharmaceutical production. Synthesizing complex drugs is mind-bogglingly expensive. If a drug takes multiple steps to synthesize, just one single step with a low percent yield can cause a massive waste of reactant chemicals, which translates to a huge loss of money. Let's move into our final part, section 5, solving advanced problems using a step-by-step methodology. This is really where Dr. Chem's cinematic methodology shines, tackling those multi-reactant problems without totally losing your mind. If you strictly follow this logical scaffolding, you can handle any problem they throw at you. Step 1, always balance the equation. Step 2, convert your given masses and grams straight to moles. Step 3, find that limiting reactant using your mole ratios. And step 4, calculate your theoretical yield. If you stick to this exact process, even the most massive, intimidating equations just break down into manageable bite-sized pieces. And here is the proof in action. Imagine an advanced practice problem where ammonia reacts with oxygen.
We have to test both reactants to see exactly how much nitric oxide they can produce. When you run the math, it proves that oxygen produces the smaller amount of NO. That makes oxygen our limiting reagent. Because the oxygen runs out first, it dictates our absolute maximum theoretical yield, which in this specific case is exactly 2.63 grams of NO. Any remaining ammonia? That's just excess left floating around.
Now let's actually grade the experiment. Let's say in that exact same scenario, a student runs the lab and only manages to get an actual yield of 2.21 grams. We can easily calculate their efficiency. We just divide their 2.21 gram actual yield by that 2.63 gram theoretical yield we just calculated, and boom, we get an 84.0% efficiency grade. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to really ponder. We know the math gives us a perfect, pristine target, but reality is always so much messier. So if your percent yield in a lab comes out to over 100%, literally breaking the laws of physics, what invisible impurities might be hiding in your final product? What exactly are you weighing on that scale? Definitely something to think about the next time you're crunching data at the lab bench. Thanks for hanging out with me for this explainer.